Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you can get the latest updates.
Hello and welcome to Sikkim Chronicle. Sikkim Chronicle today is covering on 2021's Sikkim election. Sikkim election also means the presidential election for the Tibetan government in exile. Sikkim election 2021 को फर्स्ट राउन्ड सकेपछि है 7 जना मध्येमा 2 जना केवल रहेको छ र आज 2 जना मध्येमा 1 जना प्रेसिडेन्शियल क्यान्डिडेट उहाँको नाम रहेको छ केल्साङ दोर्जी औकासाङ उहाँ आइपुगेको छ सिक्किममा र उहाँ आइपुगेर सिक्किमे टिबेटन कम्युनिटीहरुसित बातचित गरेर उहाँले आफ्नो टाइम दिनुभएको छ है र आफ्नो एजेन्डा आफ्नो क्याम्पेनिङ राख्नु भएको छ र यसै क्रममा हामी बातचित गर्ने छौं सिक्किम इलेक्सनको क्यान्डिडेट प्रेसिडेन्शियल क्यान्डिडेटसित. First of all, welcome to Sikkim and also welcome to Sikkim Chronicle.
Thank you and सबैलाई नमस्ते छ. म चाहिँ नि कालिम्पोङ स्कुलमा सेन्ट अगस्टिनमा 11 साल पढेको हो तर नेपाली नबोलेर धेरै साल भयो अनि अलिकति मुश्किल छ.
मेरो तपाईलाई फर्स्ट क्वेशन है. My first question to you is that how is the campaigning going on?
Oh, campaign is going really well. I don't know how much of that you've been following, but you know we had some changes. Our Tibetan Election Commission. Initially, I was under the impression that we had much more time to campaign, but due to some of the regulations issued by our election commission, the actual time that we have now to do the final round of campaigning is just 18 days. So it's a very compressed, amount of time, and I'm trying to go to 18 different places. So I'm literally in and out. So I arrived in Gangtok this morning, and I've met the community here. But it's going really well. There's a lot of support, and I think the people clearly see a very clear choice in front of them, right? Because we had 7 people in the primary first round, and that got narrowed down to the final 2 candidates. So it's me and one other candidate. So I think the choice is very clear, and I'm just trying to make sure that my message and my plan kind of resonates and gets the support.
Also, if you happen to become the Sikkim, if you happen to win the elections, how would you take the Free Tibet movement forward?
Oh yeah, very very. This is the core issue, right? So as I've been communicating with people in our community, I think the major thing that we need to do is we really need to, in some ways, shake things up a little bit, because I feel like we've been in exile now for almost 62 years, and in that 6+ decades, I feel like we've somehow, like that initial fire, the energy has diminished a bit. So we now really need to move towards a real movement building, a real kind of a campaign oriented, and also build some pressure and mobilize support, because I think this is a great opportunity because as you know, internationally right now, so many governments, so many countries are re-evaluating the China policy, including India. So I think this is a moment where I see a real opportunity for us to step in and present the Tibet issue again in a much more forceful way and build support and really just strengthen the overall Tibetan freedom movement.
So talk about Tibetan freedom movement, right? What would I like to ask is that what would be your take on the midway policy, which is endorsed by His Holiness himself?
Yes. Yeah. Well, the middle way approach policy is the official policy, so that will not change because this is something which His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in a very far-sighted and visionary way, came up with this approach, which is based on a mutually beneficial kind of arrangement, right? Based on dialogue, based on non-violence. Because any conflict you see, I don't think one party will get 100% of what it wants. It's always there's a give and take. That's just the nature of negotiations and discussions, right? Dialogue. So I think the middle way approach is fundamentally very sound, and I have full support for it. But then again, we cannot just say we have a middle way approach policy and leave it at that, right? I think we really have to step things up a bit and get out there. As I was telling my community members here, I mean, of late, when you read about China or about China-related news, usually in the recent, past, we used to see Tibet much more higher up, right? But now issues like Xinjiang, Hong Kong, and Taiwan seems to have more prominence, at least, relatively more prominence compared to Tibet. So I think that's because we have allowed ourselves to essentially take a very quiet approach, right? I think we need to change that. We need to really now keep the pressure on the Chinese government to say that this is the most viable approach. And I think they should really recognize that in His Holiness the Dalai Lama, they have someone with whom they can really reach out and dialogue with. Because once he's gone, then even if they want to have a discussion with someone, there may not be one person that has that much legitimacy and that much support from his people, right? So I think this is an opportunity for both the Chinese government to look at this in a way which is also beneficial for them, and also is an opportunity for the Tibetan community and the CTA to really increase the pressure and really kind of create a situation where the Chinese government can actually restart the dialogue process.
Talking about change, right? There are many group of people who speaks about free Tibet, a complete free Tibet. So how would you, after the winning, in case you win, right? So how would you take them forward? How would you take them together with you?
Right. So that's a really, really important message, and I have really high hopes of my chances, in the upcoming elections, which is on April 11th. But should people give me that mandate, should people provide me with that support and belief, then I've essentially laid out 5 things that I want to do that will bring people together and move things forward. First of all, I'm going to transform the Central Tibetan administration and make it more of a freedom movement building and less of an administration. So that's my first plan. Secondly, I'm going to really focus on using technology, and through technology how we can boost and and strengthen our freedom movement work. And then also I'm going to focus on the whole language and the cultural aspects of it, and most importantly of all, I'm going to engage the youth, because the young generation, and we have so many impressive young people, both here in India, Nepal, as well as abroad, in almost 30 different countries outside Tibet. So I think these young people who are extremely well educated, very articulate, right? I think we have to provide more pathways for them to contribute, to serve, to lead. So that's what I intend to do. I have a major youth empowerment and kind of delegating more role and leadership to the youth. Yeah.
Also, I would like to ask, there has been no single dialogue between the previous representative of Tibetan government in exile and with the Chinese government, right? So this time, do you think things will change?
Yes, the last round of dialogue, we've had 9 rounds. The last round was on 2010, January 2010. So since then, officially, there hasn't been any, government-to-government dialogue. But that's not to say that there hasn't been any dialogue or any communication back and forth. There have been back channels where representative of His Holiness has met with individuals and entities who have served as a liaison, between the Chinese government and and themselves. So having said that, I think I'm quite hopeful, because I think there's a moment when, right now, I think when the whole world looks at China, I think we somehow feel like China is so invincible, so powerful, right? But I personally believe that the way China is projecting itself externally, and the immense amount of unease and fear and concern that is being generated by China's policies and behaviors abroad, I think that is a real opportunity for us. And I think in that, it's also an opportunity for the Chinese leadership to see how they can maybe shift the narrative a little bit and and present itself as someone that, you know, is open to dialogue and can resolve issues, you know, through dialogue and non-violently, right? So I feel like a combination of just, you know, a real steady pressure that we can keep applying on the Chinese government and building more international support for the Tibet issue. I think we will get to a point where, you know, we can restart the dialogue process. Yeah, very hopeful. Yeah.
Coming back to Sikkim, so how do you think, like, small communities, like in Sikkim there are some small communities of Tibetan living, so how would they benefit if you happen to become the next Sikkim?
Well, I think what I've been saying is, you know, I want to be the Sikkim for all Tibetans, right? Regardless of whether they've voted for me or not, or whether they live, you know, in bigger areas or in smaller, you know, communities like Sikkim. So what I've been saying is, it's time for us now to regroup, you know, and bring people together. So I'm really going to focus on projects and initiatives that will benefit, you know, everybody, and especially for communities like the one here in Sikkim. I've talked about the importance of language and culture. I've talked about opportunities for the youth to engage, you know, with the larger Tibetan community, and I've talked about programs and services that we offer from the CTA, which can be, you know, which is already being made available. But I think we need to just create more awareness that such programs and benefits are available, and that they should, you know, they should access it. So those are some of the things I'm going to do, and I think I'm just going to, you know, I think just make myself more available. That's, you know, that's the key, I think.
Lastly, what would you like to, like, advise or give in, like, a message to the people watching this video?
Okay, should I do it in Tibetan or?
Rangi vote appeal sumrana.
So tange tadun di shwe thari ngazui gi wedu chumudi ta shibe se chukjil rawal pe ke chumre di wedu di longa nga nalo la anteng re mashle go mare di na la ta chashi le ya di toptan chego re gen chego re ta nge gi bugu tangbu de din yin law inji minji jinda shibe se chukji na la kesi namu so ge tebye na yo na we phero na rawal law an dene ta rabdu chuna ngala gyabyo narona kachin sina ta nge tangi mima de shuyin rawal ta mima ge duyla thari sikyo wemini ge damga de pesewo yore law kesi ngala gyabyo na me nge gi bune ta yaur mi che galab lamde shiksu rawal nge ge peme diksu di ta thurab nisaji bak diksu so thuya ani ngazo ge thapse chola do thuya ani ke rishu de ngazo ge ta minyam khongal ta thuya ani ke chishe ngazo ge shunge khang mama chi ta ngazo ge diksu ta zadön da chizo na lo la ji shabshu shu thuya ge langa khang mama söge yis di nge ngone ta thade masone kelen da thamchape changmo yö shwe long
र यसैको साथमा म टायङ बुटिया सिक्किम क्रोनिकलको लागि